So my question is, I'm trying to figure out if I need to give my wife another opportunity and reconcile.
What's going on?
She's had multiple affairs over the last 12, 13 years. Along with that,
What's
there's
multiple?
been, alcohol, 5.
5 affairs. Wow. Okay.
I just finally got
and
full
alcohol?
disclosure and alcoholism for the last 10 years, maybe.
Wow. No treatment in there anywhere?
4 treatments, 2 outpatient, 3, I guess it's 5, and 3 inpatient.
Wow. And she's not sober. She's not sober yet.
She is now. She just finished up, the latest inpatient, and she really wants to reconcile. I've already filed for divorce, and she's being pretty open, but still there's just so much trauma and hurt, and I just don't know if I want to continue.
Well, you certainly, this will give you a little more space in your head. Okay. You certainly don't want to continue what you've had.
Right.
So when you're thinking about this, if you're thinking about, am I signing up for more of this or not to reconcile, then that ought to be a clear no. I don't want to continue what we've had. The question becomes, is there something different that I'm signing up for? And what at that point, then that brings up another question is, do I want to sign up for something, even if it's new and different? You got to get over that hurdle as well, given the water under the bridge. If I, where am I with that? And different people end up, in different places on this. But the first thing that I would be looking at is when you're thinking about going forward, what are you signing up for? And does it look like, and by the way, this isn't a decision that you can just accept her, I'm going to be different, just accept her word on. It's something that there's really objective ways that we can kind of anchor in whether or not to have hope. And I would want to make sure those objectives check. Sorry about that, Reuben. We just got a package delivered here at my lockdown studio, which is in my house. And so my dog likes to alert us that somebody's at the front door. So sorry about that.
Call it dog bell.
It's a dog bell. She's a good one. So where are you with, as you look at this, what are the indicators that tomorrow would be different than yesterday?
So I think the only thing different is that she's willing to talk about the affairs. Previously, it was, always I've asked for forgiveness. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
Oh, so no processing, no understanding what it's done to you, no plan to make sure it never happens again, all of that stuff. Yeah.
And I knew about, a couple of them were going on at the same time, and I just, I would know about them, and I'd confront her, and she'd just say, I asked for forgiveness. It's done. I'm not going back there anymore.
Okay. So where are you when you look at it? You called saying you're trying to decide what are the two sides in your head, the argument that goes on in your head, the debate. What's the reasons to go forward? I understand probably the reasons to not.
To go forward, probably for my kids.
How old are your kids?
So we have 2 still in the home, 14 and 12.
14 and 12. Yeah. Are they aware of all this?
Only the alcohol. because
And
it's hard to hide.
It's hard to hide. Yeah. And so they're aware she was in treatment. Were they involved in the treatment? Yeah, family groups or any of that kind of stuff?
No, it was usually, out of state somewhere, very limited contact.
But they're aware of the alcohol. So they knew mom went to get help. She's coming back sober. Is that kind of the plan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a big factor. And so, have you perchance ever seen my book Necessary Endings?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I would, if I had a copy, I'd send it to you, but let me give you a quick kind of picture of some things there I think could be helpful. The book Necessary Endings, and I'm not trying to talk about the book, I'm trying to talk about the concepts, but the necessary endings. Sometimes there are some things that end. Sometimes marriages end, sometimes jobs end, sometimes, there are things that it is, God divorced Israel at one point, right? He said, because of your adulteries, I've given you a writ of divorce, right? It had to stop. Sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes those endings can cause a turnaround as well and a reconciliation, which we see him doing as well. But the point is, sometimes endings are necessary. But in that book, I talk about a lot of times the biggest quandary is people trying to figure out, should I have hope that it's going to be any different or not? And a lot of times that hope that they have, I hope it's going to be different that time. That hope is not objective at all. It's just a wish. It's a belief in what the person's saying. It's a not wanting to let go. There's a lot of stuff, but there's really no good objective reason to go forward. But there's a chapter in there called Unnecessary Endings. And what that means is sometimes there are unnecessary endings because tomorrow could be different, but it needs to be based in something objective. Now, I'm not going to be able to go through the whole list here, but I'm going to give you a few things to that we can kind of hang our hat on in making this decision. Number one, does the person fully own and admit their behavior that's causing pain, and they're not blaming and they're not excusing and they're owning the problem? Number two, do they own, not because they're being forced into it, but do they own the need for help in a proven track record system where people actually do change if they work this program, if they work this system? And do they own it? Does the motivation to change come from them? In other words, we're not having to talk them into going to the meetings. They have a drive that you sit back and go, oh my gosh, you're a whirlwind of getting healthy. You're a whirlwind of getting, is it whether or not you were in the picture? She would be looking for sobriety. She would be looking for fidelity. She would be looking to overcome her addictions. Number four, is the program, but the path, is it proven? Does it have a track record? Not just listen to Susie advise her at church, who's never, helped anybody in this area, but proven. There are counselors that we know have a great track record. There's programs that have a great track record. Are they in that? Number 4 or 5, is it verifiable that they're deeply involved and we can watch the process? Are you seeing change, movement in some way that we can witness over time? And are they developing a track record? Okay. Now, when you have objective things like that, and that's going to take a little time to watch, right? But it doesn't take time to watch the first 2 or 3. If we're seeing that over time, then that can give us real hope. And that's the context I would want to make this decision in. So I want to make it very objective, and because it does happen. I've seen it happen 1,000 times where people do turn around and they have a great next 30 years. I've seen it a lot of times. But when it happens, there's real objective reasons why we can depend on it. And that may be something to go over in these discussions with her. So look, these are the things, if I'm looking forward to even thinking about this, these are the things I have to see.
Mhm.
So it's a tough one.
If she's willing to do that and I'm not, am I a bad person?
It's like saying if I'm oh man, what a hard going on. No, you're not a bad person. That's like saying if my leg's broken and you're asking me to go run a marathon, am I bad for saying I don't think I can do it? Sometimes it's interesting, there's a lot of different positions on this. And are you a person of faith?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, if there's a lot of different positions. People read the same book, but one of the things that Jesus was asked one day when he said, "Was it okay? Is it okay to just divorce somebody?" Well, there was a lot of people around that time that were divorcing people for no reason. I'm tired of you, and they were discarding, their spouse. And what he did was he pointed them back to the design. And he said, look, this isn't the way it's supposed to be, guys. He said, marriage is a lifelong covenant. That's the way it was designed. And he said, so I'm paraphrasing, that's to be stuck to. And he said, and when we don't stick to it, there's some quote badness in there. You're not a bad person, but that's not a good thing to do. He said, but he did give an exception clause. And he said, and a lot of people, you can go read about this. Different people have different views, but he said, except for infidelities. He said that breaks the covenant in a quote kind of legal way is an interpretation of that. That's what God. It said God divorced Israel because of her adulteries. Okay, so we know he's not a bad person, right? So does it mean you're bad? No, it doesn't mean you're bad at all. But there are people that, for whatever reasons, practical reasons, kids' reasons, personal reasons, love, all of that, or sometimes transcendent reasons, they choose to want to go forward, even when it is permissible for them not to, and some don't. And that's just a decision that you've got to make. But I don't think it has to do with goodness or badness. It has to do with a lot of other things about how you want to go forward.
Yeah, a scripture that keeps coming up to me is Matthew 7:6, where Jesus says, "Not to cast your pearls before the swine, lest they turn on you and rend you again." And I just feel like if I put myself out there again, she's just going to do it again.
Well, that's back to my previous point. Okay, I don't want you casting your pearls before swine, right? So we got to ask, is she going to act like that in the future? If she is, the scriptures also say the wise person sees evil and hides themselves from it, protects themselves from it. So if that's what the picture looks like, of course, that makes no sense. But if the question only becomes really relevant if you're seeing a non-swine behavior future, if you will. So that's kind of the context. So I got to get to another call, but I hope that helps. I would suggest that book to you, and maybe that list will be something that you can weigh with with some good experts in there to kind of prognosticate and actually measure whether or not you've got a real change here or not. Then you can make a more informed decision. Okay. Thank you for your call, Reuben.
Thank you.
What a tough situation. Thank you for your heart. I don't think you're a bad person. Some people are sitting out there right now going, "Are you kidding? No, she, get rid of her." Other people are going, "Well, actually, I saw my spouse change and now we have so this is going to be all over the map. This is not a black and white issue. This is people make different choices in this scenario, and God bless you as you search for the best answer for you and your family.